The Gilded Age, Season 3, Episode 6. Bertha Russell steps into the lion's den with a tiara that says more than 1,000 words. But while she raises her glass in triumph, her husband's empire is teetering on the edge of collapse, and her daughter's future is under siege by cruel tradition. Beneath the diamonds and silks, betrayal simmers. Behind the laughter at dinner, war is quietly brewing. What happens when ambition meets resistance? Who wins when love and loyalty clash with power and pride? The new trailer and first look images don't just tease elegance, they hint at explosive revelations, risky confrontations, and choices that may haunt our favorite characters forever. Let's break down the preview and uncover the secrets hiding behind every smile. Asterisk Bertha. Russell is not just traveling to England for tea and pleasant conversation. She's marching straight into the battlefield. The episode's official synopsis confirms that she's going to encourage Gladine to stand up for herself. But we all know this isn't just about gentle advice. This is Bertha. And Bertha doesn't play games. The trailer gives us a sharp glimpse of her in full command, quoting the exact same phrase her husband George once used. If you want to cook an omelet, you have to break a few eggs. That's no coincidence. That's power echoing through the family, from one ambitious Russell to another. The writers want us to see that this couple, despite their recent distance, are still mirrors of each other, still ruthless in their pursuit of dominance, even when that dominance is over their own family's future. But here's the twist. Bertha is not just fighting for social status anymore. She's fighting to protect her daughter from a trap disguised as nobility. Lady Sarah has been manipulating the situation from the start, treating Gladine like a puppet to be dressed up and paraded, not as a woman with her own mind. The tiara signes, the one where Bertha raises her glass beside her daughter, might seem celebratory, but it's also a silent declaration of war. Bertha is telling Lady Sarah, and everyone else watching, that she didn't come all this way to bow. She came to conquer. But while Bertha is busy saving one marriage, her own is unraveling back home. George's rail line dream is falling apart faster than anyone expected. His meeting with JP Morgan in the trailer doesn't just hint at trouble, it screams. The project is losing steam. Money is vanishing, and George looks more desperate. With every passing second, some fans still believe Larry will somehow swoop in and save everything by turning worthless mines into gold. But the show is clearly building up to a longer, more painful downfall. George may be rich, but he's not invincible. And the show wants us to feel the weight of that pressure. Every time George frowns, every time he tightens his grip on his cane or leans in to listen to another piece of bad news, we're reminded that this empire wasn't built on trust, it was built on risk. And now that risk is coming back to bite. The question is, will Bertha even be there when it all falls apart? Or will her need to control Gladine's life come at the cost of her own marriage? And speaking of marriage, Oscar's long-awaited confrontation with Ma finally arrives in this episode, and it's one of the most anticipated scenes of the season. We've watched Oscar fumble and fail, charm and lie, but now he's backed into a corner. The trailer teases the moment like it's a showdown. And it might be, but the real tension here is not whether Oscar will yell or throw a drink, it's about whether he can reclaim control of his life. Ma's betrayal wasn't just personal. It was financial, emotional, and humiliating. And depending on how far Adam is willing to go to help him, this could either be the moment Oscar redeems himself or the moment he loses everything for good. There's a shot of both Oscar and Adam looking incredibly serious, almost broken. That tells us something bigger is brewing. Is this about Ma's past? Is there more to the fraud than we know? Or is this the start of a much darker story? Maybe even the one that leads to the rumored death this season. Whatever the case, we're on the edge of something. And it's not going to end quietly. But even as these high-stakes battles play out, there's still the fragile world of love and trust. Marion and Larry. Larry's decision to visit the Haymarket on the day of his engagement has sparked major division among fans. Some think he did nothing wrong. Others believe he crossed a line by keeping secrets. And while we know he stayed loyal, Marion doesn't. She's left in the dark, spiraling with doubt and questioning whether she's repeating her old mistake, trusting the wrong man. The trailer confirms that this emotional storm is going to come to a head, and maybe sooner than expected. Marion looks heartbroken. And when she's heartbroken, she doesn't just cry, she acts. Will this engagement survive, or will her fears push her to run before she hears the full truth? In episode 6, secrets are coming to light. Loyalties are being tested. And everyone from the richest family in New York to the staff who serve them is about to face a choice. Do they stand firm or walk away? As Bertha continues her bold mission in England, the dynamics between Gladine and Lady Sarah reach a boiling point. For weeks, we've watched Gladine shrink under the pressure of English aristocracy, made to feel like a helpless outsider in her own marriage. But in this episode, we finally see a shift, one that is subtle but powerful. The moment Gladine lifts her glass and toasts with her mother, wearing that oversized tiara with pride, it's more than just a fashion statement. It's a declaration of identity. It's Gladine saying, I may be your duchess, but I'm also a Russell. The tiara, of course, is the perfect weapon, sparkling, glamorous, and deeply symbolic. Just episodes ago, Sarah mocked her for not wearing it. Now, Gladine wears it not out of duty, but as a sign of rebellion. And Bertha made sure of that. She didn't just pack a bag, she packed a strategy. With every smile Bertha gives, every word of polite defiance she utters, she chips away at Sarah's icy control. But what makes this plot so compelling is that Gladine isn't just being saved, she's learning. She's watching her mother confront power with precision. And finally, we get the mother-daughter dynamic. This series has been building toward. It's not sentimental. It's calculated, emotional, and raw. And Gladine, still only 18, is finding her voice in the shadows of fire. Back in New York, George Russell faces a different kind of war. His once unshakable confidence is now clouded with hesitation. The scenes with JP Morgan are layered with quiet panic. George knows he's running out of time. His rail line project, once the crown jewel of his legacies, now a bleeding wound in his business empire. And what's worse, the people around him are starting to sense the weakness. Investors are nervous, rivals are circling, even his new assistant seems to be measuring his every word, silently questioning if George still has the strength to lead. This is where the brilliance of the show really shines. The fall of a titan isn't loud, it's slow, creeping, devastating. We see George not in grand speeches, but in the twitch of his jaw, the slump of his shoulders. It's these small, precise character beats that show us the magnitude of the threat. And the worst part, he's alone. Bertha is across the ocean, too busy saving Gladine to see that her husband might be drowning. The emotional distance between them has never felt wider. In earlier seasons, Bertha and George were unstoppable because they were a team. Now, they're operating in silos, and with only a few episodes left, it's unclear whether they can come back together before everything collapses. Meanwhile, another emotional landmine is ready to explode: Peggy and Dr. William Kirkland. In the early seasons, Peggy carried the weight of her past quietly, with grace and restraint. But now, she's finally opening up. She confides in William about her lost child, about the mistakes that still haunt her, and about the life she had to leave behind. This is not just a love story, it's a reckoning. Peggy has never asked for pity. What she wants is understanding, and this episode could be the moment she finally receives it. But, as always, the world around her isn't ready. William's mother, Elizabeth, becomes the voice of that resistance, cold, judgmental, and deeply racist. The tension between Peggy and Elizabeth has been building like a quiet storm, but episode 6 promises to let it break. The trailer hints at a confrontation where Peggy finally sees Elizabeth's true colors. And the question that looms is, will William stand up for Peggy, or will he retreat into the safety of his family's approval? The viewers want to believe he'll choose love, but love in the Gilded Age is rarely simple, and heartbreak feels dangerously close. If William fails, Peggy might walk away, and this time, for good. On a different side of town, Marion is unraveling. She thought she had finally found stability with Larry, a future that was safe, predictable, and honest. But that illusion is now slipping through her fingers. Larry's decision to keep secrets, to disappear without a word on such an important day, has left her shaken. She doesn't know the full story, and worse, she doesn't know who to believe. Should she trust her instincts, which are screaming that something is wrong? Or should she wait, hoping for an explanation that might never come? What's so heartbreaking is that Marion has been here before. She's loved and lost. She's trusted and been betrayed. And the moment she says, I think I trusted the wrong person again, you feel her fear. The fear of repeating the same mistake. The fear of being the naive girl who falls for charm over character. And the fear that maybe, just maybe, she'll never get it right. Larry, on the other hand, still has the power to fix this. Jack knows the truth. He was there. But will Larry take responsibility and come clean? Or will his silence do more damage than any actual betrayal ever could? The fallout from this misunderstanding could set the tone for the rest of the season, and if they separate now, It may be permanent. And then there's Jack and Ada. Their storyline may seem small in comparison to the Russell drama or the romantic crises, but it's just as meaningful. Jack has suddenly found himself wealthy and uncertain. Ada wants him to grow, to become his own man. But the burden of new money is heavy. The dinner table scenes from the trailer show rising tension in the Van Ryn household. Chaos is creeping in. Agnes, always cold and composed, is stepping back, leaving Ada to deal with the consequences. It's a test, a cruel one. Agnes wants Ada to learn what true leadership feels like, not just financially, but emotionally. Managing a house isn't about paying bills, it's about keeping the peace, asserting authority, earning respect. And Ada, so far, has been gentle, kind-hearted, maybe even too soft. Episode 6 will push her into unfamiliar territory, and Jack is caught in the middle. Will he leave the house? Will he stay loyal to the people who raised him? Or will he take his money and chart a new course, risking everything in the process? There are even rumors that Jack might be targeted financially, emotionally, or worse. And if those rumors are true, then his new fortune may be more curse than blessing. Each storyline is building towards something explosive, but nothing is simple. Every glance, every hesitation, every toast and tear carries weight. The Gilded Age isn't just about wealth and gowns, it's about survival. And in episode 6, no one is safe from the consequences of their choices. While the social games intensify on both sides of the Atlantic, one thing becomes clear in the Gilded Age Season 3, Episode 6, every character is running out of time. The Russell Empire, once pristine and untouchable, now shows cracks beneath its golden surface. Bertha may be orchestrating an elegant battle in England, but back home, the threads are starting to unravel. George's business troubles are no longer whispers in the boardroom, they're real, public, and threatening to turn into a scandal. And what's more dangerous than a scandal in this world? A scandal without resolution. As George stands across from JP Morgan, receiving yet another blow to his confidence and legacy. We're not just watching a businessman panic, we're witnessing a man who's being quietly edged out of relevance. The same George who once struck fear into the hearts of New York's elite is now seen as vulnerable. There's something dangerous about that vulnerability. People like George don't collapse privately. They take others down with them. And if his pride is wounded too deeply, we may see a version of George we've never seen before, ruthless, desperate, and willing to destroy anything or anyone in his way. Meanwhile, back in England, Bertha's campaign to secure her daughter's happiness continues. But there's a growing sense that her efforts may have consequences of their own. It's easy to root for Bertha when she's going up against the icy, manipulative Lady Sarah. But Bertha is not a saint, she's a strategist, and her intervention may not be entirely about Gladine's well-being. It may also be about control, about maintaining the Russell image, about ensuring that her family, no matter how far they are from New York, continues to climb. This is the duality of Bertha's character. She fights for love and power in the same breath. And sometimes, it's hard to tell which one she values more. As the episode unfolds, we begin to question whether Gladine is truly free or just stepping into a new kind of cage, one built by her own mother. The tiara she wears might be a symbol of defiance, but it could also be a crown of quiet submission. Gladine's story is still being written, but in a world this ruthless, independence often comes at a price. And Bertha, for all her brilliance, may be unknowingly forcing her daughter to pay it. At the same time, Oscar's storyline becomes even more tangled and tense. His confrontation with Ma isn't just a personal showdown, it's a moment of identity. Oscar has spent most of the series pretending to be secure, pretending to be powerful, pretending to be in control of his own destiny. But now, the mask is slipping. Ma's betrayal has left him exposed, not just financially but emotionally. And the question he faces is brutal. Can he rebuild, or will he be consumed by shame and rage? Adam's presence in these scenes is crucial. For so long, Oscar has kept him at a distance, treating their connection as transactional or secondary. But now, Adam may be the only one who truly understands him. There's a haunting image from the first look photos where the two stand together, visibly shaken. Some fans believe this scene follows a shocking revelation, possibly about Ma's true identity. Or worse, about a death connected to the con she ran. If that's true, Oscar's arc could take a much darker turn. No more hiding behind sarcasm. No more smooth words. Just the raw reality of a man who finally has to face himself. And if Oscar falls, it will be one of the most heartbreaking collapses this show has given us. In contrast, Peggy continues to rise, but her ascent is anything but easy. Her relationship with William is on the edge of something meaningful, something real. But Elizabeth, William's mother, stands like a brick wall between them. We've seen disapproval in this show before, but this is different. This is not subtle. This is generational, social, and deeply personal. Elizabeth represents everything Peggy has fought against: prejudice, elitism, and the belief that status defines worth. And in episode 6, that conflict comes to a head. Peggy is tired of being polite, tired of pretending she doesn't notice the disdain. When she opens up to William about her past, she does it with courage, not shame. But even as she tells her truth, Elizabeth is preparing to use it against her. This episode will likely show just how cruel society can be to women like Peggy, brilliant, ambitious, and unafraid. But the real suspense lies with William. We've seen him be kind, we've seen him admire Peggy, but what we haven't seen yet is whether he's brave enough to protect her. Will he finally confront his mother, or will he retreat like so many men before him when the pressure gets too high? If he fails her, he doesn't just lose Peggy, he proves that love in this world is still a privilege, not a right. Then we have Marion. Her story may seem like it's about Larry, but at its core, it's about fear. Fear of being fooled again. Fear of loving someone who isn't who they claim to be. The trailer gives us quick flashes of Marion in distressed stares. Silence, a visible sense of betrayal. But the suspense isn't just about what Larry did or didn't do, it's about what Marion will choose. Will she walk away to protect herself? Or will she wait for Larry to return and explain? So far, Larry hasn't been the kind of man to intentionally hurt her. But in this world, intent doesn't always matter. Secrets matter. And timing matters. The longer Larry stays silent, the deeper the wound becomes. What's heartbreaking is that Marion doesn't want to be angry. She wants to understand, but she's alone, questioning everything. And if she makes the wrong call, she could lose a man who truly cares for her. Or, worse, she could stay loyal to someone who's not worthy of that loyalty. This emotional tightrope is what makes Marion's journey so compelling. There are no villains here, just people making choices that might save them or ruin them. And through all of this, the house at 89th Street becomes more than just a backdrop. It becomes a symbol of change. Jack, now wealthy and full of ambition, is being pulled in different directions. Ada, caught between Agnes's cold authority and her own desire to lead, is beginning to buckle under pressure. The household is shifting. Old rules are being questioned. New tensions are rising. There's a scene in the trailer where Ada looks visibly overwhelmed, unsure of how to respond as the walls around her begin to close in. Agnes, for her part, seems detached, almost amused by the chaos. But this may be part of her plan. Let Ada sink or swim. Let Jack choose who he wants to be. And in the process, the very idea of home is redefined. No longer a place of comfort, but a place of trial. If Jack makes a bold move investing in George's collapsing empire, for example, he could lose everything. But if he stays stagnant, he risks becoming someone else's puppet. Either way, his decision will ripple far beyond the dinner table. As episode 6 barrels forward, every storyline feels like it's teetering on the edge of change. Not just personal change, but transformation that affects families, fortunes, and futures. And with only a few episodes left, the choices made now will shape the entire endgame of the season. The tiaras may sparkle, the dresses may dazzle, but underneath it all, the world of the Gilded Age is trembling. And not everyone will survive what's coming. Bertha's rise into the highest levels of New York society has never felt more precarious and more dangerous. After winning the Tiara Showdown and outmaneuvering Mrs. Winterton at the Metropolitan Opera, Bertha now stands at the edge of a political and social empire that could either solidify her place among the elite or collapse everything she's built. In episode 6, she faces a new wave of threats that aren't as visible, but far more insidious. Whispers about her ambition begin to spread through the drawing rooms of Fifth Avenue, and not all allies remain loyal. One hostess in particular, whose name hasn't surfaced in prior episodes, steps out of the shadows with the power to challenge Bertha's dominance. This woman doesn't seek power through gossip or grandeur, but through calculated influence and hidden alliances. Bertha must now decide whether to form an uneasy truce or prepare for a different kind of social war. Meanwhile, George Russell finds himself grappling with a railroad crisis that could shake their financial foundation. What seems like a routine business matter is, in fact, a strategic move by someone from George's past, someone he trusted who now wants to see the Russells fall. George is forced to navigate not only a public scandal, but a private betrayal that reaches deep into the foundation of everything he's built. And while George tries to shield Bertha from these complications, she senses the storm approaching and prepares her own counter. But that's not all. Oscar Van Ryn, still reeling from his broken engagement and the exposure of his hidden life, begins a descent that feels eerily irreversible. With no marriage to Gladine, no social status left to cling to, and a growing list of enemies, Oscar begins to act out in ways that shock even his closest companions. His mother, Agnes, tries desperately to rein him in, but her once imposing influence is slipping. Oscar has nothing left to lose, and that makes him dangerously unpredictable. His path may collide with another young man introduced in episode 5, one with charm, wealth, and a dangerous secret of his own. Their interaction could spark a scandal that would not only destroy Oscar's final standing, but implicate several others in the process. On the other side of town, Peggy Scott continues her quiet but relentless investigation into the corruption surrounding Booker T. Washington's funding. Her instincts lead her to an unexpected name, one that stuns her because it connects back to someone she once admired. The betrayal isn't just professional, it's deeply personal, and as Peggy digs deeper, she's warned to stop, with someone even threatening her safety. But Peggy's resolve is unshakable, and her next steps could change everything. Not only for her, but for the future of Black education in America. Larry Russell is also at a crossroads. After Bertha's harsh words and his decision to part ways with Marion, Larry's direction is lost. But episode 6 introduces an unexpected development. Larry is offered a position on a prestigious architectural project, one that would send him away from New York and away from everything he's ever known. This offer forces him to confront his feelings for Marion once more. Is he running away from his pain, or toward a future that's entirely his own? And speaking of Marion, her own journey begins to shift. Tired of being everyone's pawn and always choosing the safe path, she begins to embrace the independence she once only dreamed of. Her art, her beliefs, and her ability to shape her destiny finally take center stage. She starts making decisions not based on what Agnes wants or what society expects, but based on what she feels is right. And that might just lead her back to someone she's never quite stopped loving. But the most stunning twist of all comes at the end of episode 6, when a letter is delivered, unsigned, unsealed, and utterly shocking. The content of the letter is unknown, but its arrival sets off a chain reaction within the Russell household that will not only threaten their place in society, but their family itself. Because the secrets in that letter point to a betrayal from within.